Have you ever felt small in someone else's presence, as if your very thoughts and feelings weren't your own? What if I told you that the key to taking back your power isn't fighting them, but something far more powerful, something quiet, steady, and unstoppable? Most people believe the only way to deal with a narcissist is to stay silent, to avoid conflict, to keep everything calm, but that's exactly what keeps you stuck. The truth, and it's a difficult one, is that the moment you stop being afraid of them, their entire illusion of power falls apart. In this talk, we're going to look at what really happens when you refuse to play their game of manipulation. When you look a narcissist directly in the eye and say, "No more," you'll see how their world begins to crumble, why they lose control, and what it truly means for you to take back your strength, your voice, and your self-respect. Stay with me, because once you understand this, you'll never see fear or narcissists in the same way again. It's interesting, isn't it? Fear. Most people don't realize just how much of their life is shaped by it. Fear decides how they speak, how they stand, and how they move through the world. And when you're dealing with a narcissist, someone who feeds off control, who enjoys dominance, fear becomes the main currency of that relationship. It's their favorite tool. It's what they use to keep you small, uncertain, and constantly walking on eggshells while they sit comfortably in control. But here's the real truth. When you remove that fear, when you stop reacting to it, the entire game collapses. Now picture this for a moment. You're sitting across from someone who constantly questions your worth. Someone who finds subtle ways to remind you that you're not enough. They smirk when you speak. They sigh when you make a mistake. They twist your words until you start to question your own memory. What's happening there isn't random. It's psychological warfare. They're training you to anticipate their reactions, to censor yourself before you even speak. That's how fear works. It doesn't need walls or chains, it just needs your cooperation. And once you give that, you hand them the keys to your emotional freedom. Most people think fear is just another emotion, like sadness or anger. But it's more like a parasite. It attaches itself to your sense of self and quietly drains your confidence over time. You start doubting your own truth just to keep the peace. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. You lower your tone so they don't explode. You think you're maintaining calm, but what you're really doing is teaching them that intimidation works. You're rewarding their behavior with your silence. Here's the strange part. Narcissists don't actually have real power. They have borrowed power. It only exists because you feed it with your fear. You build the stage they perform on. The moment you stop reacting, the moment you look them in the eye and say, "I'm not scared of you anymore," you pull the ground out from under them. And that's when they panic, because control without fear is nothing. It's an empty show. You can see this dynamic everywhere, in workplaces, families, and relationships. Think about the boss who uses humiliation to control others. The moment an employee stands tall and calmly says, "That's not acceptable," you can feel the room change. The tyrant suddenly doesn't look so big anymore. He looks exposed, because bullies, narcissists, manipulators, they all depend on reaction. They live off emotional energy like leeches. Take that away, and they starve. You see, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's mastering it. It's when your chest trembles, but you still act with integrity. You keep your voice steady. You tell your truth. And every time you do that, you take one more brick out of the wall fear built around you. That's how real freedom begins. Not when your situation changes, but when your response to fear does. Now, I know what you might be thinking. It's not easy. Of course it isn't. Standing up to a narcissist is like facing a storm that wants to knock you down. They'll rage, they'll guilt trip you, they'll call you selfish, ungrateful, arrogant. They'll do everything possible to regain control. But here's the key. You don't fight that storm by yelling back. You fight it by staying calm, by refusing to bend. Because your steady presence, your refusal to be part of the chaos, exposes their weakness. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. The darkness doesn't fight back. It just disappears. Fear works the same way. It lives in the shadows of confusion. Once you bring awareness and stand strong in who you are, the manipulation loses its grip. The narcissist realizes they can't move you anymore. That's when the power changes hands. That's when you take back your dignity. So, if you ever find yourself in that space, feeling small, doubting your worth, fearing someone's reaction, stop and ask yourself, what if I didn't fear them? What if I stopped playing along? What if I stopped giving them that power? You'll notice something amazing happens when you do. The fear begins to shrink. The voice in your head that whispers, "Stay quiet," starts to fade. And the narcissist who once seemed so huge starts to look ordinary, fragile even, just another person hiding their insecurity by trying to control yours. And that's the real revelation. When you take away fear, you don't just disarm them, you transform yourself. You become someone they can't manipulate, someone who lives from truth, not terror. And once you taste that freedom, you'll never go back. Because there's nothing more powerful, nothing more unstoppable than a person who refuses to be ruled by fear. People often confuse boundaries with cruelty. They think saying no makes them mean, selfish, or unkind. But that's exactly the confusion narcissists depend on. If they can make you believe that standing up for yourself is wrong, they've already won. Boundaries don't make you cruel. They expose the weakness of those who depend on your obedience. A narcissist thrives in blurred lines. They want to know they can step into your space, test your patience, cross your limits, and you'll still come back. They want to see they can disrespect your time, your peace, and your values. And you'll tolerate it in the name of kindness. But that's not compassion. That's self-betrayal. And every time you betray yourself to keep peace, you strengthen their illusion of power. When you finally decide to set a boundary, when you say, "This stops here," you'll see something interesting. They'll call you names. They'll accuse you of being cold, distant, or difficult. They'll say, "You've changed." And in a way, they're right. You have changed. You've stopped being part of their chaos. You've stepped out of the game they created to keep you under control. And that terrifies them because boundaries reveal what they truly are, people who can't survive without control. Think about it. Imagine someone who only feels powerful when they're manipulating others. Imagine how fragile that kind of existence must be. It's like a building standing on rusted scaffolding. All it takes is one calm, firm no, and the whole thing starts to shake. That's the real power of a boundary. It reveals how unstable false authority really is. People often confuse kindness with submission. They think being kind means allowing everything, forgiving endlessly, tolerating everything without asking for change. But real kindness, true moral strength, has discipline. It knows when to stop. It knows when to say, "I won't let you use me as a tool for your dysfunction." Because if you don't draw that line, your kindness becomes a weapon turned against you. I've seen this happen countless times. A woman stays in a relationship long after it's broken, hoping her patience will fix him. An employee keeps taking more abuse from a toxic boss, believing loyalty will earn respect. A son keeps trying to please an impossible father, thinking one more effort might finally be enough. But it never is. Because narcissists don't change from your suffering, they thrive because of it. Your tolerance becomes their permission. The boundary breaks that pattern. It's the moment you say, "No more excuses, no more twisting myself to keep you comfortable." That's when the narcissist shows their real face. They can't stand limits because limits show how dependent they are. They need constant access to your time, your emotions, your energy. They need to know they can enter your world anytime and rearrange it. So when you close that door, even just a little, they panic. They lash out. They project. Because in that moment, you've proven something they can't handle. They don't control you anymore. Now let's look at what that really means for you. Setting a boundary doesn't just protect you, it defines you. It's a declaration that says, "This is who I am. This is what I allow. This is what I won't." And that's an act of great courage, because boundaries come from self-respect, and self-respect means facing your fear of rejection. It forces you to accept that not everyone will like you, not everyone will agree with your limits, and that's perfectly fine. That's maturity. That's integrity. You'll notice something amazing after you start doing this. The people who truly care about you, who are emotionally stable and mature, will respect your boundaries. They'll appreciate your honesty. They'll feel safer around you. But the ones who only valued what they could take from you, they'll drift away or they'll fight you. And that's the gift of boundaries. They separate the real from the fake. A life without boundaries is chaos pretending to be peace. It's calmness that costs your dignity. And eventually, that price becomes too high to pay. So if you want to live truthfully, if you want relationships based on respect instead of fear, you have to be ready to disappoint people who benefit from your silence. You have to let go of the illusion that you can please everyone and still stay whole. Remember this, boundaries are not walls. They are gates. They don't shut people out. They let the right ones in. They create order, safety, and clarity. And for narcissists, that clarity feels like poison because they can't manipulate what they can't confuse. So don't be afraid to draw the line. Don't be afraid if someone calls you selfish or harsh. Those words are just the sounds of someone losing control. Your boundaries don't make you cruel. They reveal the truth. And the moment you realize that, something profound clicks. The people who fear your boundaries are the very ones who were never safe for you to begin with. Confidence is a strange thing. Most people assume it's loud, flashy, or arrogant. But real confidence is quiet, calm, rooted in something far deeper than appearances. And that's exactly why it terrifies narcissists. Confidence disrupts their illusion of control. It exposes the truth they work so hard to hide. Their power only exists in your uncertainty. Narcissists aren't as strong as they seem. They're fragile. Their identity is like a house of mirrors, each reflection carefully arranged to make them appear larger, more imposing. But when someone confident walks into their world, the mirrors crack. A confident person doesn't buy the performance. They don't react to the manipulation, the drama, or the emotional bait. They see through it. And that realization is devastating for someone whose entire existence relies on being admired, feared, or obeyed. Imagine a puppet master controlling strings on stage. As long as the puppets dance, he seems powerful. But what happens if one puppet cuts its strings and stands tall on its own? The illusion collapses. The audience no longer sees the puppets. They see the weakness of the man behind the curtain. That's exactly what happens when you show confidence to a narcissist. Their script fails. Their tactics lose effect. You become the one they can't control, and that terrifies them more than anything. So how do you develop that kind of confidence? It's not pretending. It's not puffing out your chest or speaking louder. It's knowing who you are, truly knowing. It's aligning your actions with your values, your words with your principles, your boundaries with your self-respect. Confidence is moral clarity in action. Narcissists can't handle moral clarity. It's sunlight to a vampire. It burns away the illusion. Think of a time you were around someone manipulative, at work, at home, in a relationship. They guilt you, twist your intentions, turn strengths into flaws, and exploit your insecurities. But if you respond calmly, if you don't take the bait, if you hold your ground without aggression, the change is immediate. They lose their rhythm. They might mock, provoke, or accuse you of arrogance, but really, they're saying, I can't move you anymore. You're not playing along. Confidence isn't the absence of humility, it's the presence of truth. Truth is kryptonite to narcissists because their whole strategy depends on keeping you confused, apologetic, and hesitant. They want you walking on eggshells, trying to predict what will make them happy. But the moment you stop playing that game, the power shifts. The moment you say, no, that's not what I meant. I won't let you twist my words. You reclaim your voice. You become a mirror they cannot distort. Confidence doesn't always look like confrontation. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's walking away without explanation. Sometimes it's choosing not to engage when they demand attention. Narcissists interpret calm as weakness because they mistake chaos for strength. But self-control is the highest form of power. Staying composed while they unravel is confidence in its purest form. Confidence isn't born from comfort. It's forged in conflict. It grows when you face discomfort. Refuse to abandon yourself to please others and stand up for yourself, even when your voice shakes. It's earned through discipline, not ego. Narcissists hate it because it can't be faked. They rely on external validation, admiration, fear, or attention. Confidence comes from internal validation. It doesn't need applause, it doesn't need permission. It quietly says, I am enough. I don't need your approval to exist. When you carry that energy, narcissists can't manipulate it. They may try, pushing buttons, spreading rumors, playing the victim, but it won't work because your sense of self is no longer built on their perception. And that's when transformation happens. The person who once made you anxious, small, or uncertain begins to shrink in your eyes. You stop seeing them as a threat and start seeing them as what they are. Someone deeply insecure, hiding behind a mask of dominance. Pity replaces fear, and pity is the death of their power. This confidence isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's walking through the world knowing you won't abandon your integrity for anyone's approval. When you reach that state, narcissists scatter. They find easier targets, people still bound by fear and doubt. You walk freely, not because the world is easier, but because you're stronger than its games. Calm defiance is their ultimate defeat. Quiet, composed, immovable strength. Narcissists feed on chaos. Your anger, your tears, your despair. Those reactions confirm their power. But when you stop reacting, stand quietly grounded, it drives them insane. They are masters of provocation, studying every weakness, looking for ways to bait you. Every time you engage, you return to their game, but refuse to play. Stay calm, deliberate, and they lose control. Calm defiance isn't passive, it's power. Like a tree in a storm, flexible with the wind but deeply rooted. The narcissist is the storm, loud and chaotic, trying to drag you into their turbulence. Your job isn't to fight it. Stand firm, let it pass, remain whole. That's mastery. When you've been manipulated for long, calm feels impossible. You want to scream, expose, seek justice, and that's natural. But that's exactly what they expect. Explosions feed their narrative. See? You're the unstable one. By not reacting, you break the feedback loop. You become a mirror they cannot bear to face. Calmness removes their control. It exposes their hollow performance. Calm defiance is not apathy, it's awareness. It's responding with logic, not emotion. Making decisions based on principle, not manipulation. It's how you win without fighting. For example, a man once told me his ex would bait him, twisting every conversation to provoke him into yelling. Every reaction fed her sense of control. One day, he stopped reacting. He listened, said nothing, and walked away. Within weeks, her behavior collapsed. His calm revealed her chaos. That's calm defiance. Strength disguised as stillness. Power that cannot be destroyed. Being calm under pressure isn't natural. It must be cultivated with discipline, self-awareness, and restraint. Learn to breathe instead of react. Observe instead of absorb. Detach instead of defend. Master emotion instead of suppressing it. This skill protects you not just from narcissists, but from all forms of emotional chaos. When you reach this level, the narcissist loses interest. They escalate or move on to easier targets. It may sting, but it's liberation. You've won through sovereignty, not aggression. Their drama doesn't define you. Their opinion doesn't shape you. Their tactics can't touch you. Remember, calm is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. The narcissist's greatest fear is your peace, because peace means you are no longer part of their game. And once you stop playing, they lose everything. Calm defiance is the ultimate victory. Quiet, undeniable, absolute. Strength isn't found in domination or shouting, it's in composure. Victory over chaos comes not from fighting, but from mastering yourself so manipulation loses its grip. When your emotions are no longer someone else's weapon, you become untouchable, free. Ask yourself, how much of yourself are you still letting them control? Every moment spent reacting to chaos is a moment lost to your authentic self. Identify where you're giving away your peace, time, or sanity. That's where you start reclaiming your power. Practicing calm defiance rooted in truth, discipline, and awareness doesn't just expose the narcissist. It elevates you beyond their reach entirely. Where have you seen this in your own life? How did your calmness change the dynamic? Share your experiences. Your stories matter. And if this message resonates, share it. The more people who learn to stand calmly in the storm, the fewer storms manipulators can create. True strength isn't about dominating others or reacting to chaos. It's found in calm, grounded confidence, in knowing your worth, protecting your boundaries, and staying aligned with your values. When you master yourself, you no longer give others power over your emotions, and you become untouchable in your own life. Calm defiance is not anger or aggression, it's quiet strength, self-respect, and freedom. By standing firm in your truth, you reclaim your peace, your power, and your life.